everyone, it's Skill up here. I certainly did not expect the sort of response that I have received from my last video. I knew it would be very strong, absolutely. But this is like well and truly knocking it out of the park. You know, my Century Pulse and Smart Cover video, which, you know, many people were very unimpressed with, that video got about 500 downvotes on YouTube. And this one that I've just put up has about 1,400 downvotes at the moment. And that video has only been up for 24 hours. So yeah, obviously people are really pissed at me, or at least a lot of people are. And if you go to Reddit, you'll see like every hour there's a new post put up about why I'm like the devil. That's cool, you know, that's important. Everyone has a right to speak, and I really appreciate all of the views that have been put forward in this discussion. I was really serious when I said that this is a discussion. This isn't just me talking at you. I wanted to have a discussion about this very important topic because, you know, this matters a lot. And so thank you to all of those that have weighed in by some means, even those of you that have like abused me, flamed me, called me terrible things. I still do value the fact that you shared your opinion. And similarly to those that were sort of really constructive in the way they put their view forward, whether you agreed or disagreed with me, again, I really appreciate that, because I think it's really important that Massive hears this stuff and hears this conversation so they can decide the best way forward. In the spirit of what I have said earlier about wanting to have a conversation about this, I wanted to lend a microphone to all of the people that don't have a YouTube channel with whatever, 90,000 subscribers. And I wanted to echo some of the feedback that I've received from that video. So that you know what people have been saying, and this isn't just about me whitewashing my comment section and only saying or echoing what I want to hear. It's important that we have all sorts of views, right? So we're going to go through the main points of feedback that I received from that video, and in so doing, I'm also going to provide a bit of a response to that, because obviously some of the stuff people have said is really inaccurate, because it sort of incorrectly paraphrases me, or it makes assumptions about me and my intentions. But a lot of it is super accurate, because it's like it's their perspective on something, and it's a really important perspective. So we're going to go through all of it now, so let's just dive straight in. So first up, I just need to talk about this perception that like I'm this really selfish top 1% skill no life YouTuber slash streamer who just wants to see the game made in their own vision and doesn't care about the community, doesn't care about casual players, and definitely doesn't care about console players, because I'm deciding how the game should be without giving all of those people a voice. Now, you know, that's very challenging feedback to receive, because none of that is true. I will say that I try and work really hard for this community, right? I do my State of the Game highlight reels, and I, you know, do my Should I Buy It each week, and I'm very active on Twitter and in my comment section trying to provide people advice about things. You know, I've done a lot of coverage on patch 1.4, trying to give people as much information as I can. I actually really care about this community a lot, and if I didn't care about this community, I wouldn't have made this video. What I would have done is, and this was the original title of my video. My original title was like how to farm 70 items per hour, you know, in the underground or in patch 1.4 or whatever, right? It was meant to be just a farm video, because I said to myself, Ralph, my name's Ralph, by the way. I said, Ralph, if you make this video, everyone's going to go nuts. Don't do it. Just make the video about how to farm, and then whatever after that, right? But I didn't do that, because I feel like that would be dishonest, and I would not be putting my honest voice forward about things, and I don't feel that's the best thing for the game. So instead, I made this video, which I knew would get me like tons of flaming, losing subscribers, downvotes, whatever. So the only reason I do that is because I really care about this game, and I really care about the community. So that's point one. Point two is that I actually have a full-time job. I only play the Division like 10 or 15 hours per week, to be honest with you, which I know is a lot more than some, but it's a lot less than I think a lot of people think I play this game. You know, I play other games. I have a full-time job. I go to the gym. I have friends, family. I'm getting married at the end of the year and planning a wedding. You know, like there's all this stuff going on in my life. The Division is not the only thing that I do. So it's actually really important to me that when I play, I progress. And that means means that in the limited time that I have to play, I need to move my character forward. So I'm actually with you on this. I'm with everyone that is a casual player that wants to see their character progress meaningfully. I'm with you. That is totally what I'm about. I am not 24/7 Division. I don't have that awesome streamer life. I'm the dude that sort of like squeezes in time to play as much as he can, you know, and it is definitely a challenge. So that's number one, right? And I hope you'll believe me on that, because that's honestly the truth. That's my honest, heart on sleeve kind of admission for how I feel about this community and how much I play this game. So, all right, the biggest piece of feedback that I got from people, number one bit of feedback was that, you know, skill up, you know, you're a jerk. We need as much loot as possible because this is a looter and loot needs to rain from the heavens, that there's tons of RNG in this game, and that unless we get like all the items, or at least, unless we get a lot of items, then we're not going to be able to perfect our builds, and it's just going to be really boring and whatever else. Now, this is a really valid perspective. This is absolutely a looter, and we do need lots and lots of loot. There's no doubt about that, right? And similarly, RNG can be a challenge in this game, but it's actually a lot less of a challenge in patch 1.4, as I'm sure you'll find. The fact that performance mods now are a thing, and they can slot into our gear, allowing us to choose those skill bonuses, removes tons of RNG from the system. Similarly, we're now able to craft gear, like 229 gear sets and weapons, and at the same time, when we recalibrate a weapon, we actually get 6 different recalibration options as opposed to just 3. So all of those things in aggregate really take the edge off RNG, and as you will find when you get onto the PTS, there's a lot more loot flowing. Now, I know a lot of you already are on PTS, and a lot of you feel like the loot that's flowing is just fine, and that's totally cool. I really respect that view, and that's an important view to share, you know. I am of an opinion, however, that 70 items per hour is too much loot. And, you know, whatever we think about this, I'm sure we can all agree that we just need to land at the point where, you know, we're getting enough loot that we feel satisfied with our progress, but we're not getting so much that we just get everything we want too fast and we get bored, right? That is ultimately that is the enemy. That is absolutely going to kill the game as fast as the game being too hard. So we can't arrive at that position. And I think whatever discussion we have just needs to find that right balance. So let's have that discussion. Again, totally hear the perspective that this is the right amount of loot. Fully respect that. But again, I think it's just a bit too much at this point. I'm feeling like I'm gearing up super fast. I'm getting my builds optimized extremely quickly at this point. And I do think that's a problem for the health of the game long term. There's also been some feedback that's been provided to me that, and you know, like Butter actually provided this feedback as one example, but many other people did as well, that, you know, the game has been so shitty the last little while that we kind of deserve this like loot explosion and just get all the stuff that we want and, you know, get ready for survival. And I don't agree with this either, as much as I appreciate the perspective, purely because, you know, this is the one chance that we have to show those that left but are coming back, like to show those people that this is a game that's worth playing for more than just a few days. If everyone gets what they want really fast, those people that left are just going to leave again, and they're going to think, well, the Division goes from being way too like stingy on loot to being way too generous, and now I've got everything I want and I'm bored, I'm out of here. So we need to find the right balance, and I don't think that just showering people with loot upon their return to the game is the right approach for that. So another really big concern that people had was that I want to see the game go back to 1.3 difficulty, and this is absolutely 100% not true at all, any way, shape, or form. I was one of the biggest opponents of the 1.3 difficulty. I hated it. The video that I did on Pulse, Smart Cover, and Century, I think, was a really I think it was an important video in helping understand the root cause of that imbalance and that difficulty, and I think the community eventually came to agree with me on that after like a lot of to and fro, and Massive have also openly acknowledged that that was a really huge contributing factor. We don't want to be in a position where the game is imbalanced or too hard. Patch 1.3 sucked from that perspective, and I never want to go back to that at all. But similarly, at the other end of the spectrum, I don't believe that me killing a boss on challenge mode in 20 or so bullets is right. I feel like that's just not satisfying. Similarly, I feel if I can face tank 3 shots from a shotgunner on you know, an elite LMB shotgunner, I feel like that's just not hard enough, right? There needs to be a balance, and I'm absolutely not advocating going back to 1.3, but I am saying that right now I don't think enemies are hitting hard enough, and I don't think that they have enough health to really you know, make the game feel rewarding. In connection with that, I'm of a view that it would be really great if we could have tanks and healers in the game, and I made that point in the video that, well, you know, if I can tank a shotgunner like this, then what is the point of an actual tank who's got 20% more mitigation and a shield, like, and heaps more HP? Like, that's just total overkill at that point. Similarly, what is the point of a healer if I'm just always topped up and, you know, enemies do so little damage? And many people, and including Marco Style, actually tweeted this to me, and they said, you know, the game should not require tanks and healers. And I completely agree with that perspective. That's a very valid point. I don't think this game should be built around the holy trinity of tank, healer, DPS. I think that there should be an option for that, though. It should work. There should be some space for a tank, some space for a healer. And I think in the demonstration that I showed, there's no space for those playstyles or those gear loadouts because it would just be a complete waste. So agree with everything that people have said on that front. It should not be a requirement, but I do believe there should be space for it. So one of the most controversial things that I said was this idea that there should be group activities as opposed to just solo activities. And many people felt like it would be really unfair if there were any activities that were not available to solo players. And this is obviously a very complicated point. Now, I personally believe that as the game is currently structured with incursions and missions and the underground, I actually think that everything should be soloable in this game. If they were to add raids, like proper raids, I think that should change. But right now, all of these activities, I think they should be soloable. That should be fine. I think, though, that on top of that base solo difficulty level, there should be a group difficulty level that rewards the same items, but it just rewards more of them. So if you're a solo player, you're still getting best in slot end game loot, you're just getting it slightly slower than those people who choose to play in a group. There should be as much space for solo players in this game as there is for, like, groups. There should be space for both of those. We cannot cater to just solo players, just like we cannot cater to just group players. We need like the middle ground where both of these play styles are welcomed and they have space to do their thing. And I feel like right now, with the difficulty being tuned as it is, that there's not really any requirement to group, and groups are overkill. And if you look through my comment section, you will find that anyone that's running, not anyone, but a lot of people who are running challenge mode in groups are finding it extremely easy. Not everyone, absolutely not, but a lot of people are. And I think that's very concerning, because what is the point of a tank if challenge mode is that easy? What is the point of a healer if it's that easy? So I feel like we need to get to a point where there is hard mode for you know, solo players, and they get the best loot, but they just get slightly less of it. Challenge mode is for groups, and it requires that coordination, and as a result, it is more rewarding. That is my view. I know many people do not agree. There was also a lot of feedback around the comment that I made that social interactions in games are really good for community and for retaining players. And many people felt like, no, I don't play games to make friends. I just play games for me. And again, that is totally fine. And I wanted to echo that sentiment and put that out there. It's a perfectly valid view. And you know, you shouldn't be forced to play in groups if you don't want to. You shouldn't be forced to sort of make friends if you don't want to. But I think it's good when games give space for this. I think it's good when games encourage this as well, because I think that when you're able to meet someone that you can play with regularly, that social interaction is a really good retainer, right? It keeps people coming back to the game. And what this game really needs right now is a growing community, because otherwise, if people just keep leaving, then Ubisoft are going to look at this and they're going to say, no more DLC, no sequel, the license is dead, let's move on. And that is the last thing that I want. So I think that those social connections can be really good, and that's why I do think it would be good if the game encouraged but not required those sorts of group activities. One of the other pieces of feedback that I received was that the difficulty looked fine and that I was just complaining for no reason. And that, again, is actually a really valid point. If you look at that footage that I showed, you're certainly, you could absolutely reach the conclusion that that difficulty was well tuned, because it just means that you're going through the game, it's nice and cruisy, but I still had to go behind cover, I still had to use heal, people felt like it was fine. And again, totally respect that view. All I can say personally though is that just because I go behind cover to use my heal doesn't mean I was really feeling like I was at any point close to dying or it felt really tense or whatever else. Everyone enjoys a different sort of difficulty level. I feel like this is just a few degrees below what is intended, but again, perfectly respect the view that this is the right difficulty level, and that's that. So the other thing connected with that is this feedback that I got a lot of this feedback that it's like, skill up, make up your mind, man. You're such a flip-flopper. You're just whinging for no reason. You're never happy. 1 minute the game is too hard and the next minute the game is too easy. Well, yeah, that's true. 1 minute the game was too hard, and in my view, the game was then too easy. And I really feel like providing feedback on that is exactly what the PTS is for. It's like, that porridge is too hot, that porridge is too cold, that porridge is just right. That's what we need to find. And so, the suggestion that, me sort of, providing a different view that's contrary to a previous view, I don't think that's the right way to look at things. It is possible that developers overshoot when it comes to things like loot drop chance and difficulty, and I do feel as though they've overshot in this regard. Those are the views that I think came through, and I, again, appreciate all those views. Thank you very much for sharing them. And just for the record, in terms of, finishing out this video, I just want to clarify one more time what I was saying in that video so that everyone's really clear. And that is to say, I think we all want a game that provides really well-tuned, challenging experiences for both solo players and also group players. I think that we need both of those. I think no one should be forced to group, and you should absolutely be able to progress solo. 100% believe that. I think that you should be able to progress with just a few hours of play per week. But similarly, there needs to be a proper progression curve for really hardcore players as well, so they don't just get bored and leave. I think there needs to be space for true build diversity with tanks and healers, but that these things should not be a requirement. And I think there should be heaps more loot, like unquestionably way more loot than patch 1.3, but I don't think it should be overkill such that the loot I want, I get it all in the space of a week and then I'm done with the game. That's my perspective, that's my view. Feel free to agree or disagree, but let's keep this conversation going because obviously massive are listening, there's no doubt about that at this point. Everyone is definitely sort of making themselves heard on this, and I think, everyone having their say is important because it helps us land at the right place. For now, guys, thank you very much, take good care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.